Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to talk about the issue of hierarchy. You talk about the dominance issue. You hear that word thrown around within the dog training world quite often. And even a name of a research scientist, fellow Canadian, goes by the name of Dr. David Mech, whose name is brought up quite often regarding his observations of wolves in their natural environment. And, his take on, what dominance represents, and even his so-called historical, mistake. Okay, when how he defined, say, dominance is real, and then switching and say it's not. But the thing with, and I think I talk about the confusion, even in the dog training world, why there's so much confusion is to understand about the depth of what's going on, deeper than just appearances. And I talk about the number one problem by way of how learning's applied in such a superficial way that allows for dogs that are already holding control in the relationship to continue to do so, okay, through its application. But going into the issue about, our what we see, this whole thing with appearances plays into this thing about hierarchy and through what nature reveals at that level and the depth of what's happening beyond what you see. And so in terms of, say, with wolves and with dogs, it's understanding that, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of strength and weakness, and this overt physical force being on display by way of engagement that way, is that what you see, and it's coming to an understanding, a sense of this, is that there is hierarchy, there's a recognition of relenting or submitting, without that overt physical force being on display at a level that one would maybe perhaps anticipate. And that's where the confusion really comes through, is understanding, looking through the right lens. And this idea that somehow strength and weakness isn't present, that dynamic isn't happening. In reality, it really is, okay? Just that we're not seeing it, because when you do see it on display, at that level, it's because both are pretty equal, and so the outcome has to happen that way. But when it's clear, okay, through the depth of what's happening, that that one is not going to gain through that, then there's a submission factor there. So that's part of it. That really plays in this thing. It is very real, and this goes into this issue about understanding about control. People wonder why it is that all these trainers out there who are not looking through the right lens. Okay, they're assuming certain things at a physical level, which basically are not true, because they're not putting the picture to the test. They're assuming, stepping into building a picture, that what you see is what you get, that it's lining up the way that it's being presented, and understanding through how dogs connect with us at that level. Okay, same thing. Dogs are pack animals. They connect with us at that level. That the same thing exists. Okay, this thing about understanding why it is that certain, say, personality types, people have more struggles and more behavioral issues. You start to line up, you'll see it. You'll make the connections. You'll see these. You'll establish these connections, that they're consistent and they're predictable. But the other thing is understanding about how the dog training world is approaching relationship problems by way of what they're advocating is inherently flawed, okay? And it comes out through the confusion, the unresolved behavioral issues that just simply don't go away, and then the blame shifting and all those different things. Because here's the thing, is this thing about appearances have gotten people into trouble. Nature doesn't reveal itself that way, at that level. There is depth to nature's depth to relationship. Dogs are amazing animals, but it's honoring animals and honoring dogs for defining them properly through nature, okay, through relationship. They're amazing, and this just proves how amazing that they really are, because they utterly do not conform to a human's ideas about relationship that way. I mean, comes out, the evidence is there, it's clear. But what I show, I show very clearly, I'm very specific as to the problems and the fact that the dog training community can't accept it, plays into this issue about how they're looking at relationship in a very superficial way. And the outcomes, why the outcomes are not consistent It's because, again, I show very clearly that the process itself needs to be specific in a sense of interaction based. Okay, dogs again are social animals, so how we interact, and this issue about control and understanding how we're engaging the process with how we're building the picture. It really it matters. So again, when people look at hierarchy, you hear these words about dogs aren't pack animals. I understand where it's coming from. It's coming from this this bias, okay? This human idea about what we see, and there's depth. Just understand. So much is about the what we observe, and science can be overly based on that. Doesn't and that This is where the breakdown is. Okay, this is the thing about understanding the depth of what's happening. A deeper level, and this whole system that I advocate, it's understanding dogs at a deeper level. It's understanding our role, the critical role we play in that process. And so again, if you have any questions, check out my website. Lots of great information. Thanks for watching.